Hi, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. We're going to continue our exploration in unpacking one more Chinese expression a day. I'm having so much fun. I'm getting a little bit verbish, over verbal. So if you think I'm too lengthy, please let me know. I'm just having fun explaining in detail what exactly each one is and how they form together, how to make meaning. So I guess in a sense, I'm meaning making myself in the process of sharing you with my process of unpacking. Okay, so 荣枯线 we talked about yesterday is about this flourishing and wither, and there's a line to determine that. And I even mathematically show you this arch thing when the slope is 0, that's when it's not growing or dying, but that's a very delicate state of being. Most likely, we're either on the growing curve or on the downsizing dying curve. So Chinese, interestingly, use this plant-based symbol. 荣 means flourishing, like a big canopy type of tree, and 枯 means 10 generations old tree that's possibly withering. So we're using the tree life cycle to show economic life cycle. Okay. Today we have 枯 and 荣 again in this expression. Now, this is an ancient poem every Chinese elementary school kids got to recite. And to my taste, this is a lot better than, other poems that we recite, because at least that gives us a message that give us, a little bit of a quote unquote death education, because we're talking about grass life cycle. In 1 year, the grass comes and go. But people, we can kind of relate, we're not like just 1 year, game is over. We do multiple years, but still we have a lifespan. So that kind of gives us a sense of the rhythm of life. And离离原上草，一岁一枯荣。My reciter's voice is not that good. I hope there are other Chinese speakers can pronounce the full beauty of the language by pronouncing it correctly. But let me try again. 离离原上草，一岁一枯荣。Does it sound better? Maybe. Okay, so we are talking about the grass. Grass is the main character here. 离离 is describing how the grass looks like, and the 原上 is describing where the grass is at. Okay, 离离, that's an ancient Chinese expression, because nowadays we don't really use 离离in this way. We actually don't use 离 and 离 right next to each other. But Chinese do have this rhythmic language arrangement that repeat the same character right after each other twice to make a sound effect, but by doubling it, like doubling down on this character, we create not only a rhythm, but also gives you a sense of the meaning relates to the formats of the language. So not just repeating, but by repeating, we give more meaning to it, if that makes sense. Okay, li. So li came from this bird symbol on the right side. You can see the beak of the bird, the head of the bird, the feathers of the bird, and the little tucked in aerodynamic feet of the bird. Left side is a type of animal. And here the tail sign is, it's the tail of the animal over here, and here is probably is from the butt view of the animal, like big legs, strides on two sides, and then this is the head of the animal. Because human face, we use this nose symbol. We have the nose bridge and the nostrils to describe that's the head of the human being. When it's animal, language creators don't really care much about how the facial features of the animal look. They simply cross it to show it's a complicated face. So just go figure. So that's the head of the beast. And then I don't know, the top of it is probably some type of horn, but I mean, this symbol actually, you see, it looks the same. It's grass. It's the symbol of the grass, low-hanging grass. So I'm not sure why it's either in front of it, because further away from the frame, it means further away in distance horizontally. Because we only have a 2D frame, we cannot show depth, and that's the depth showing, or is it like spatially vertically stacked? That's something horn-looking thing growing on top. But in any case, the left side is the beast, the right side is the bird. And I would imagine, okay, now in contemporary Chinese, Li means separation, means departure. And here's a little bit jumpy of logic, like a wide bird and a beast kind of means departure. I guess if they are wild animals, if you're having to capture them or domesticate them, they are easy, like they are free to go. So they are roaming around or flying around. You cannot really contain them. So that's why they probably represent this departure because they can leave at any moment. And the Li, when they pair together, it doesn't mean departure, have nothing to do with departure anymore. But you just see visually the character of the beast, the bird, the beast, the bird. Doesn't it show you almost like a jungle picture? Like you have animals running on the ground, you have animals flying in the sky, and that shows you the flourishing animal kingdom right there. And that's what I view this character here. It means the flourishing. Things are wild, and that's when things are growing well, like without the messing from human beings, like without we interfering their natural life cycle or life environment, they are flourishing on their own. Okay, so that's Li. 原上草. Okay, yuan came from this top left corner is high ground. So that's the high ground frame because, okay, a 2D frame, right? We can view this as 4 sides, right? But Chinese characters don't use the bottom and the right that much. Most of the time we use top left corner to show high ground, and we use this as a low ground. So that's the simple rules that I observe that the language tend to do. So when you see a high ground, that means something in the wilderness. And that's kind of a cliff looking thing. Now, here, this, according to scholars, and I concur, that it shows the generation of water in the mountains. So imagine after like a winter, the snow melt, and then the spring from the high ground of the mountain are going to like a source from there. They're going to flow downward and eventually more and more joined, and the water gets bigger and bigger, right? So from the little creek to streams to rivers eventually. So this shows the source of water, and this flowy, 3 stripes shows the uninterrupted flowing, free flowing of water from nature. So the whole thing was actually showing the source of water, how it's formed in the high ground of the mountain and it's flowing down. And eventually this yuan means the vast piece of land that's kind of untempered by humans. That's yuan. Okay, sha. I translate as a top. So it's interesting because Chinese language, we don't really bother to form we have a different set of syntax. So in English, we say on top of the land, right? We have to say on top of and the land. So out of that, only land and the top are the key useful message. The rest of them are helpers to show you the structure of the language. But Chinese get rid of all that small words to go directly to the essence, the message. So top here, on top of, simply have the ground level, have a vertical line showing over there to show you this is what they were talking about, is the benchmark, and this is on top of that. Simple as that, very visual, very effective. And you see the contemporary Chinese add a horizontal line up there, like add a line over there to, I guess, to make it a little bit more specific, because this is too simple a structure. Unless we have like one horizontal line, that's just number one or ground level, no dispute. But over here, it's like two strokes. It could be misinterpreted as something else. So there was, besides the language simplification process, there was this complication process to add something a little bit more to make sure there's no misunderstanding of what that character is. So that's my interpretation of why. So this is the ancient shang, means on top of something, very visual. So on top of this big piece of land, the grass. The grass symbol come with the grass symbol itself. So eventually, like, we don't draw out the whole thing. We just use the two kind of little cups with a vertical line that shows the growing grass structure, the little twigs of the grass. Two of them means it's oftentimes when grass grow, it's a cluster of them grow. It's not just single one thing grow, right? So that's how grass works. And eventually we just use this symbol everywhere to mean it's something related to grass, to plant. And the bottom of it is, according to scholars, that's the pot of the grass. We kind of have to visualize, like a zoom in. Probably it's pretty, not exactly microscopic, but it's something small. Something really, the reproductive process for grass. It's some small thing that we don't normally on a human scale look closely, but language zoom it up to show the pot, and there's seed inside. And here is a pot, the pot open, and the seed is going out. That's how grass reproduce. So there we go. We have how the grass look and how the grass reproduce. That's the definition of grass. So now we describe the grass. That's the main character. So what about them? Then we are describing the behavior or the life cycle of the grass. 一岁一枯荣. Okay, you notice here I mark in purple color because it's the same thing. It's E, right? One and one again. But one is pronounced as rising tone. The other one is falling tone. Because at least some of the Chinese characters, they are used very often in language. And when we use them so much, their pronunciation becomes fluid. Okay, for the benefit of the flow of the tonation of the language, it starts to be contextualized. So how it's pronounced depends on what's the pronunciation afterwards. So here, 一岁, the 岁 is less often used. So we use 岁, and we have to fix it so that people won't hear it. No, it's not something else, right? So when we have falling tone after the E, I mean, E is its neutral dictionary pronunciation, because E by itself, without anything else, without context of this word, it's just E flat tone. Now, when it has a 岁 falling tone after it, that's when we rise it. So there is this going up and down. It's a more easier flow of the tonation. So 一岁 instead of 一岁, there is a gap over there, right? So you rise it up, 一 and then 岁. Okay, and the ku is flat tone. And so here, the E flat tone, 一枯荣, sounds a little bit stiff, like it's too stiff, right? Like a two flat tone next to each other. So here is falling tone. It's like falling into this curve. So 一枯荣. So you can kind of see it forms tonation-wise a valley over here. So there's a falling, flat, rising. So all that, phonetics of Chinese language, the flow, it creates a kind of a melody in our ears, and that helps people remember it, helps people, like, because it sounds prettier. So People like to recite it more, use it more. That's how language survive, or that's how this poem, this particular combination of characters survive through thousands of years, right? So the use of tonation is a special note here. So E simply flat. That's, I mean, one flat horizontal line, that's number one. Simplest Chinese character. You can claim you know Chinese simply by know this, and it pronounced as E, and it can change sound, but it's E, and then that's our number one. That's easy as a Chinese character. Okay, sui. Now, sui have this, this is a food symbol, 3-toe food symbol. This is the big toe, big toe. So when you see big toe here, it's the right foot, right? And then you see big toe here is the left foot. So left foot and then right foot on top of it. That actually means distance-wise, because we cannot express depth on a 2D frame, right? So that's how, if it's a place above it, it doesn't mean you're sticking out your feet in the air. It means like distance-wise, this is your first step. And then this second step further away from you. And that means you're stepping forward. And then the rest of them pronounced as a shu, including this horizontal line. So we have this weaponry thing that's kind of farming tool converted to weaponry in terms of what era you're in, peace or wartime. And then with this horizontal line, that horizontal line was not a concrete physical, like a representation of physical object. That horizontal line becomes like an indicator, becomes abstract. Like people add a horizontal line, actually convert this weaponry origin character into something more abstract. It's actually the number 11th month according to the ancient lunar calendar. So 11th month is almost toward the end of the year. The 12 months year, the 11th is toward the end. And then we have the footsteps. That means you're walking, keep walking, progressing. So that means time is running out for this year. You're already at the 11th, but things are still going. And that's how Chinese shows the flow of the time or the flow of the year by coming to the very end of it, and things are still moving, stepping forward. And that's the concept of age. Once it's a full cycle, you upgrade it to 1 age, 1 year more. Okay, that's 一岁一. And 枯荣, we talked about in last episode, 枯 means it's dying, it's weathering because it's an ancient tree. This is a tree symbol. And then 10, mouth, means something, some knowledge or legend passed from one generation to another, because before written language, it's verbal communication. So there's a verbal history or knowledge passed down through 10 mouths, 10 generations. And that means it's pretty long time span. I'm thinking like a 10 generations in ancient time scale, probably at least 100 years, right? Because, okay, back then people may reproduce like at 15, let's say 20. 20 is pretty old in ancient times. So 10 of them, at least 200 years. So 200 years of tree, that means it's pretty ancient and it's probably dying. And grow, well, we use rong. It's originally means a particular type of tree that it has a big canopy used as the liner of the avenues inside a fortress. So the fortress is here, like a big arch, and the light, the fire symbol, 2 of them means multiple lights scattered around to light up the city. So the arch and the light together forms that visual representation. The simplest way to represent it's a fortress or a city. Or a town, so townhood back then, like with the walls around it. And then that's the tree, the type of tree with big canopies provide a lot of shade inside the town. Okay, so that's the type of tree. And that tree, because of this big canopy, to symbolize it's growing, it's flourishing. So here, 一岁一枯荣 simply means every year it will experience this dying toward the end of the year and then growing in the next year. So there is this life cycle every year in terms of grass. For grass, if it's annual grass, it's going to die and flourish every year. Okay. I have to say, okay, I just translated it as annual plants behavior. It's 一岁一枯荣, right? But it's a poem actually. And this picture, I want to thank my friend who is actually traveling in Central Asia. And this is before he headed out to more deeper of Eurasia, the heart of it. This is at the borderline, almost close to the borderline between Xinjiang province, which is the northwest province, big province, and Kazakhstan or whatever Stan countries over there. And you can see the scenery here is amazing with snow-capped mountains, tall trees, and big grassland, and free walking, roaming horses. It's like idyllic. It's so beautiful. And I want to use this picture to signify the grass. I mean, the main character actually is the grass here. Like for the grass, they are going to experience this year-round life cycle. And that's 一岁一枯荣. And if anybody interested in his channel, I can send a link in the descriptor. Okay, we're going to continue with the poem, the next stanza of the poem in tomorrow. Okay, see you tomorrow, hopefully.